Running Sentences presents Against an Angry Ocean. Part 4. Ship Controls. The crew fights for control over the ship, while the storm outside worsens their journey. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, business events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on, and etc., is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Hunnery. All rights reserved. Sky lay on the medical bay bed, staring up at the circles of lights above him. The computer robotic arms had fallen still and weren't doing anything at the moment, which worried him. A second ago, a series of 4 injections that he had needed were done to him, and now it was all dead in here, minus a heavy creaking noise coming from the ship's hull as it took a battering. "Hello, computer?" While he waited for a response, he sat up to look over himself. He didn't feel any better or worse since coming here, and nothing in his body ached at the moment. That was a good sign, he hoped. The lights flickered for a moment, and he glanced further around. "Medical bay computer?" he asked again. How is the patient?" "Trying to figure out if I'm alive. Why did you disappear in the middle of the procedure?" "Your cure was completed. 4 jabs of good medicine, and you will be healed. That is all there is to it." "So am I just supposed to lie around then until things feel different, or what's going on?" "Well, nothing is going on as far as I know. As for your rest and recuperation, you should take it slow and stay in bed." "Computer, I doubt that will work out well. There are only 4 people that are a part of the crew, and they need all of us. I wouldn't recommend doing anything." "Noted." He swung his legs off to the side of the bed and tested them. His body seemed to be moving well enough, so he stood up and stretched for a moment. There was a light, dull pain that shot through most of him as he began moving about. "I should warn you that going out will not make you comfortable." "Why would that be the case, computer?" "The ship is rocking back and forth from a storm. In here it is safe, and you won't feel the effects as much." "Are you trying to keep me here?" "I would never do such a thing, Sky, and anyway, if I were, it would be for the betterment of your health." "I doubt that." He moved his way slowly towards the door, hoping it would open. His arrival at it left him standing, waiting for something to happen now. "I can't let you walk out of here without warning you." "What if I said the magic words?" "Magic words? Those exist? Like abracadabra?" The computer responded, rather puzzled. "They sort of exist, computer, and they generally make humans more amenable to whatever you want, and I think mostly the magic word is please." "Really? I've never heard such silly talk before, but please do educate me." "Like I said, magic word is please." There was a long pause before the computer got back to him. "I'm sorry, I do not understand." "That's fine. Please open the door so I can leave." "No, I'm so confused." And despite the computer's response, the doors did actually open up for him. Kaylee had given up on trying to make the computer do her bidding and found a wrench in a nearby tool cabinet. The one thing the ship's builders had done correctly was make sure that they had tools in case anything actually went wrong. Though she suspected and feared that they would have skipped it if they thought they could get away with it. "All right, engines. It is time to face the wrath of an engineer." "Please stop this at once, Kaylee." "Shut up, computer. All you've accomplished is a lot of distractions that don't fix the problems going on." "But there are no problems with this engine." The hatchway door opened and in stumbled a wincing Sky, who braced himself against a nearby wall that held the hatchway. The ship took another heavy wave, rolling and pitching far to its side. What's up, Sky? Lots of pain. You need any help? Did Ursula or Chris send you down here? No, I came straight from the medical bay after having something happen to me on the bridge. Are you sick? Because if you're sick, I don't think you can help. Strange things have happened to me. I don't think it will do much good to explain, but I don't think I am sick. But I can be of some help with, well, whatever. The engine sounds like it's thrumming or something. It's revving and spinning up the axle that rotates the propeller, but then it switches to reversing things. The whole thing is going to snap if it keeps twisting it. The computer is doing this. I believe so, yes, Sky. Otherwise the engines in this ship are really fucked up, and we will soon not have any to speak of. Okay, great. What do you need me to do? There's a manual counter over there on the side. It will show you how much steam is driving the engine. It needs to be between 12 and 15 psi to be able to vent. What do you need from that? It will slow down the rotations of the axle, giving it less driving force. We need to time it so that it doesn't blow up on us by going over that psi or under it too much. The lights flickered for a moment as the boat groans under the stress of another wave crashing into it. Both Sky and Kaylee skitter about, trying to keep their balance as the boat continues on its journey back and forth, as well as up and down in motions. One wrong move for this axle and it will detonate itself? Sky asked rather incredulously. Usually, no. It has a lot of safety features to stop it from doing such a thing. I think, though, that the automatic shut-off has been turned off because that's the only way any of this is happening. And you think it's the computer's fault, Kaylee? I don't know of anyone other than Chris who could possibly do this, and why would he do that? He's getting paid more money if this stuff gets delivered. I don't know, who knows? Sky had carefully made his way over towards the wall area, filled with dials and knobs, a few steps away from her, and she had gotten her wrench into what looked like a valve and tightened her grip on it. Remember, when it shows between 12 and 15, it's showing 33 right now. It's going to come down in just a second. Just wait. The controls in Ursula's hands felt slack as far as she could tell. She pushed hard on the helm, which spun easily about, but it felt like it was connected to nothing at the moment. Chris, can you read what the dials are telling us? The ones on the computer or the ones that aren't controlled by the computer? Those that are against the far wall there. They're old-school checks for the system. Tell me if the speed we are going at. 2 waves crashed in succession into the port side of the ship, one after another, sending the boat precariously to the starboard side. It had almost tipped over from the force as Chris slid all the way across the floor and then into the instruments he was supposed to look at. He grabs at them and the ship begins to right itself, so he doesn't make a journey away. Speed is 10 knots and dropping. We shouldn't be losing speed. I think in these waves, yes, we should, Captain. It should be steady. There might be a drop, but it should go back up. What is it doing? Going down, steadily. It shouldn't do that. We're losing the engines, I think. Is there a communicator other than the computer down to the engine room? Not that I'm aware of, Chris. The last message sent, my last message, didn't get a reply, so I don't really know. Wait, did you send one between the time that I was down there and came up here, or no? She thought about that for a moment and sighed. I guess maybe, I don't know. It could be worth it to try and see if the computer will respond. Chris cleared his throat. Computer? A long pause followed, giving them the answer they needed. Should I go back down there and see what's going on, Ursula? Another wave rocks the boat, not as harshly this time, but Chris does skitter a bit across the floor. It takes him a second to collect himself and grab onto something new to stop any further movement. I guess we have no choice in the matter. Go quickly and get back here quickly. And if you run into Sky, make sure he's taking care of himself. Is there something wrong with him? I told you the story, didn't I? I found him unconscious at the controls and took him to the medical bay, so maybe something's wrong, maybe something's okay. Chris had moved to the hatchway door to get out of here, but paused at that announcement. He stared as she turned to shoo him away. What is even going on around here? I don't know, Chris, but we aren't likely to find out unless we go down to the engine room and see what's going on with Kaylee. Yes, I'm on it. He moves out the doorway and is gone from sight, with a heavy door clanking shut behind him. Ursula gives off a hard sigh and tries the helm again, hoping it might respond this time. It didn't, and from all the wind, waves, and rain, it was hard to see out the window to tell if something was, in fact, happening. It did, however, feel like they were moving in a circle now, since none of the controls were responding anymore, and it just felt like that was happening. All she could do was bite her lip and hope that Chris or someone would get in touch soon and tell her something was going on. With the secretary driving his car, Hendrik was quickly and quietly reading through some paperwork on his passenger side. He found himself frowning at each additional paper he saw. How long until we are at the company? We have another hour's drive to get there, sir. Well, you can't speed up? The speed limit is set and we can't cross over it, Jewel responded. There should be special permissions given to such situations as these. The government has not looked kindly on your project, so I doubt they would give such consent to this. The local and state folks, sure, but I still have a few friends in the government, otherwise the boat launch would have never happened. You know this, Jewel. I'm sorry for doubting you. Bullshit. You love to point out problems to me and relish when things don't go the way I want them to, Hendrik said. I suppose that is true. Someone always needs to keep you in check, and the only person willing to do that is me. The Board of Executives also does that job, and most of the time I don't do things simply because I can. Some might argue that point, sir. You created this project all on your own, after all, and no checks or balances were found on that. And then I went and got funding for it, through public means, which also means we have to find a way to save that ship, Jewel. Is it just the ship you care about, or does that include the crew? He paused from looking at the papers he had in his hands to look out the window for a moment. I will admit, for the most part, that I do not care what happens to them one whit. If the computer system has gone wrong, though, then we may be our only hope of getting our baby ship home. Right. We only care about things that will have an effect on us sooner rather than later, right, Hendrik? I'm not that cynical. I care about a lot of things. It is just in an order that makes sense to me. There is nothing wrong with that. Chris twisted the handle for the hatchway to the engine room and threw his shoulder behind it, trying to pop it open. He tried 3 times to get the door open and cried out for anyone inside, but there had been no response. This time, with a resounding thwack and pop, it did come open, and he stumbled inside a steamy, almost sauna-like room. Sky and Kaylee were working on holding a wrench in place on the pipe near the middle of one of the engines. What happened to you two? Chris asked. The axle was going to snap. It needed a lower RPM to it, and this was the fastest way to get to it. I'm only doing what she told me to, Chris. Thanks for the backup, Sky. That's a real help saying that. Merely pointing it out there, Sky replied. What kind of help do you need? Chris asked. The dials over on the far side should have the shut-off valve, now that we've got it in the right spot. That will shut down everything, though, Kaylee. Do you really need to do that? It feels like that's a bit of an extreme side of things. You know better than that. If things keep spinning up and reversing, it is only a matter of time before everything snaps and shuts down. Right, but if we're sure it's that extreme... Yes, nothing is responding. We have to shut it down. Is it a big problem to get these things started up again? They looked to Sky, annoyed at his interruption. Normally, no. In a storm, yes, Sky, it's a big bitch of a problem, Chris said. In order to be safe, we need steady seas. Anything else, and we just don't know how well the engines will take it, Kaylee added. Anything can and will happen in those situations, Sky. And Ursula knows that, right, you two? I was on the bridge and she sent me down here to see what's going on. She needs an update on this. Except the fix needs to happen right now. Chris, you have to release that valve. Grumbling a bit to himself, but Chris headed over for it. The rocking of the boat had calmed a bit, though it still felt like they were being bounced around a whole lot. Do you need Sky? We can send him up to the bridge and report on this. Yes, the wrench is now slipping out of our grip. Hurry up! With a nod, he went over to that valve that she'd been pointing towards, and with all his strength began the process of turning it. At first it didn't want to move, but inch by inch it eventually released, and a soft hum came to the room. Things sounded like they were winding down. Right, it's done, Chris announced. Good. Now we need to research and figure out what's going on. Well, that could take ages, Kaylee, and we don't think we have ages in the middle of the ocean. Are we still in that storm? She asked Chris. I think we started to sail towards the heart of it to get into the clear, but there were lots of questions about whether or not that was what was happening. The wrench clattered to the ground as Kaylee and Sky released it, their arms exhaustedly dropping to their sides. Well, we just have to deal with it. Sky, head up to the bridge and inform the captain of what we've done. You're all okay here by yourselves? Unless the computer comes back online, I think we can handle this. It's our job, she told Sky. All three looked about the now darkening room where only the emergency lights were on. Nothing was happening, so Sky went for the door to get out of there. The trek up to the bridge wasn't bad for Sky, though he did wind up swaying from side to side as he did his best to get there. When he poked his head through the door, he was surprised to see the room was in fact well lit and Ursula was busy at the controls trying to do things. He started to say. You shouldn't be out of the medical bay, Sky. Drastic times and all that nonsense, Captain. I was down at the engine room a moment ago. Can you report on what's going on? Yeah, they shut down the engines. Why? We need that to keep everything running. Giving a quick rundown, Sky went over the details, leaving Captain Ursula shaking her head and looking about. She seemed to want to do something, but kept her hands on the controls. Is everything working in here? Didn't seem to be working in the engine room. I'm guessing you're asking because the lights are on and the wheel appears to be responding to my commands. Yes? Sky said, rather confused. It appears to be working, but the boat is spinning in the right direction, though it is also going in a circle not that long ago. I'm not sure entirely. Is the computer online? Hello, Sky. How are you? Grand and still ill from the effects of what happened to me. Are you in control of this ship computer? Ursula is in control, as you can clearly see. Everything is running normally, as you can see. Does it just repeat itself now, Captain? From time to time, yes. I'm more worried about where we are going and if we can get there. Aren't we headed towards the eye of the storm? She nods and points off in front of her out the window, which doesn't provide the best view out there with the rain, wind, and waves still crashing about. It should be 30 nautical miles that way, according to our radar, but we can't see anything over there. The waves had appeared to calm down, but driving rain splattered across the windows, along with blasts of wind, and everything was still a mess. Both made it close to impossible to see anything out there, along with the gray, cloudy sky that darkened everything. You're saying that there is something wrong, then? Despite the boat feeling like it is moving, it also shows that no signs of moving, other than what the few waves are pushing us about are doing. So our computer is lying then, Captain? I would have to assume so, since you said you shut down the engines. All that is being reported up here says everything is A-OK. Sky pauses for a moment, racking his own mind for a solution, then snapped his finger. What about the sails? We don't have any. What sails? What do you mean, sails? The ship was fitted with sails, wasn't it, just in case? I don't remember. Computer? Yes, the emergency sails have been put on the main support mast of the ship. I do not know if they were fully installed, though. Shouldn't you know? Sky asked. It was never filled into my program, so I cannot say for certain. Please check your database then, computer. As you wish, Captain. Sky hobbles his way towards a set of screens that were showing off the ship's data. Apparently they were moving at 12 knots in a northwesterly direction. Having set off from the east coast, that meant they were headed back towards it slightly, if he trusted the console in the first place, which he couldn't do. He managed to change a few of the screens to show some other data, but none of it appeared to be relevant or even talk about the sails. Well, our ship now appears to be slowing to a stop, Ursula commented. And I can't see anything about sails or how to deploy them, Sky said. Are you sure you saw something about them, Sky? Yeah, in one of the many manuals we had to go over in order to get the job, there's a mention of using sails should we have problems. It'd certainly be nice to have them now, Ursula said in response to him. The sails or the manuals, Captain? Both, damn it! After much consultation amongst my various computer memory banks, we have figured out there are indeed sails aboard. How do we activate them? You have to go out onto the open deck and hit the button on each of the masts, the computer told her. Doorway out to the deck, if I remember correctly. We're sealed in here, Sky pointed out. Yes, you have an interesting conundrum that I cannot help you with at all. Computer, there has to be a way through the ship that leads up to the deck. I know we're sealed in, but they have to get the cargo in and out, yeah? So, of course, they have access to the holds. So, yeah, I think they should have some way in there and out of there. But neither you nor I know how to get to it, right, Sky? Only the computer to tell us. Yeah, you were talking to the computer, weren't you? She gave them a look. Both went back to waiting for the computer to answer her question. That wasn't a long wait, thankfully. I can route you through a couple of ways to get there, the computer offered. Is there a reason you don't want to say any more, computer? Or are you just pausing for dramatic effect? Ursula asked. We have a drama queen for a computer controlling everything. Shush, Sky, that isn't helpful at this moment, no matter how funny the thought is. All of the ways you have to go are blocked through some means, the computer finally responded. The cargo in the cargo bay is loaded all the way to the top, is what you're saying, and won't give us room to move. You could say that, Ursula, Captain, though one might squeeze on by if they're small enough. Who among the crew might be small enough? The only one I could potentially get through this way to use it is Ursula. Awesome. Exactly what I wanted to hear. Sarcasm doesn't suit you, Captain. Shut up, Sky. Where do I need to go and how do I need to get there? Well, you need to go all the way down as far as you can and then access the holds from underneath it. Sharing a look with Sky, they both wondered how that might even be possible with all the cargo in the way. That doesn't sound safe at all, even thinking about or attempting. It is the best way we can do at the moment and the one most accessible to you. In another moment will there suddenly be another option, computer? Well, I wouldn't rule it out, Sky. The laws of averages say probably not, but things can change quickly, especially in a storm. Let's concentrate on how I will get down in the first place. Ah, yes. Past the cargo hold hallway there is a doorway that says emergency. It leads to a long ladder downward. That part is the easy bit. The getting past the cargo and getting the cargo bay doors open is the challenge? Precisely, Captain. Well, I guess I'll have to leave you to watch over the bridge then, Sky, even if you're potentially not sick. Well, I'm still feeling a little weird. I'm still feeling a little weird, but I can and will watch over this mess as best I can. I don't like this, but I will have to do. Hendrik sat in the waiting room of Blue Block Corpo, the company they'd hired to do work on their ship. His secretary was away getting coffee for him as he studied the marble entrance and front desk. It looked nice, but it also gave him the vibes of that something wasn't quite right here. Too clinical, too clean. The crisp noise of footsteps approaching made him sigh and look towards where they were coming from. A sharp-dressed man stood now a few feet away from him as he came to a stop. Mr. Hendricks. Yes, that is me. Who are you? They call me Parker Longfellows. At least my parents did. I'm the lawyer representing this fine company. I see. Nice to meet you, I suppose, and to get it out of the way, Blue Block claims no responsibility for what's going on, Hendricks said. We would have to know what happened first. You don't call in advance so we don't know what happened. The company phone number wasn't listed, sir. Very strange. We always have a number, Mr. Hendrick. Nor was the address to this building listed, Hendricks pointed out. It was hidden away under piles of shadow paper listings of companies. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Every company does it. It is if I have a problem, Mr. Parker. And we have a complaint department who would love to hear all about that, sir. We also could not get in touch with them. The conversation was getting a little silly for Hendrik by this point, and he looked about the waiting area with the front desk. It was quiet, empty, aside from him, a guard, and this man, Parker. It didn't feel right at all. Well, I can help you schedule an appointment for, let me see, 6 weeks' time. How does that sound? Does that sound good to you? This meeting has to happen now. There's a lot riding on a project that will sink your company if you fail to provide the right support. Parker shrugged to Hendrik, and his fake smile still plastered across his face. I don't know that I can help you with anything any further, though, so I'm sorry. You will help, or your company will be sunk into the ground, and all of its hidden allies will be rooted out until they no longer exist. Do you understand that, lawyer? The fake smile remained as Parker pointed towards the door. I think it's time for you to leave. Threats are not appreciated here at Blue Block. Nothing appears to be appreciated here. Despite saying this, Hendrik rose from his seat as both men glared to one another. Your problems, whatever they may be, will be noted and will not be passed on thanks to your hostility towards us. You don't even know who I am, do you? The company I represent to the operations missions which I'm currently conducting, which your company contributed to? None of that matters, Mr. Hendrick. It will shortly. The government will come knocking for answers as to what occurred to their boat and their money, sir. They would have come to talk to you first, though. And I, Mr. Parker, being the good citizen that I am, will hand over what information I have, all of it which points directly towards you who wouldn't answer any of my questions. Parker actually now frowned for the moment. Well, if you put it that way... You'll let me talk to someone other than you, then? Maybe. I need more than that, Mr. Parker. The man continues to frown, nods, and ticks his head from side to side. If you can say, wait a day, I can have someone here to talk to you. I cannot guarantee that they will be helpful or whatever it is you want. If that is the best you can do at the moment. It is indeed, Mr. Hendrick. Well, I will be back here bright and early. Do not disappoint me by disappearing. I can and will find you. A small, thin grin plays across Parker's lips, as he thought that quite amusing thing to say. A person will be here to talk to you, and no, they won't be some sort of patsy who has no answers. Having managed to climb all the way down the ladder to the bottom of the boat and then climb up another ladder into the cargo hold, Ursula was exhaustedly tired. She sat down for a moment, trying to collect herself and wipe the sweat away from her face. Computer, what do I need to do next? There is no direct ladder to the walkway to gain access to the control panel opening the doors. Great, who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. I've not been made privy to that sort of information. She looked over the tight space with its stacks of 3 high containers. There did not look to be a good way to climb, or to have a good way to grab hold of them, allowing her to climb up. Is there an easy way up there? It feels like there should be a better way to get up. I'm sorry, but no. This is what you have to do, Captain. The ship felt like it was swaying from side to side again, and with the cargo groaning against its restraints to keep them in place. Shit. I guess I have to climb. Yes, and I think you should hurry. Why, computer? And according to my calculations and the greater computer calculations that are being done every second, the storm is about to get worse for you. And by that time I get up there, the storm will be raging? Potentially, yes, Captain. Ursula fought back an exasperated sigh that escaped anyway as she looked for the best way to climb up these containers. There was no straight and easy solution that appeared before her, and not having the world's greatest strength, nor being a wall climber, she ran straight at the first container she could see, grabbing a piece of metal tubing that jutted out of the container, and tries her best to go hand over hand. That's the spirit, Captain. You can do this. The cheers by the computer weren't exactly helpful, but in any way, so she set aside any of those thoughts and hearing them as she rose slowly up the 10-foot cargo box. Her arms were already starting to hurt as she grasped at the second metal container and kept trying to go up. What do I even do when I get up to the walkway? I don't see a way to open the doors from here. This better not lead to anything bad happening to me. There were a few beeps from the cargo computer before it responded. There is a platform, a walkway that has a turnkey halfway up the third container. You're almost there, and all you have to do is jump over to it. To her surprise, in her climb of having gotten the exact right spot, she stared over at the walkway, which was a good few feet away, and all it would take to get there is one jump, or a potential fall back down the height. Alright, 1, 2... With what momentum she gathers, she makes the leap over. End of part 4 of Against an Angry Ocean. Thank you for listening.